everyone, thanks for tuning into Sin's Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, today we're going to be reviewing Moth Dark by Kika Hatzopoulou. I always mess up her last name. I really do, and I'm so angry. Hatzopoulou? By Kika. I was lucky enough to be on the street team for this book, so I did get an arc of it. So it was great. It really was. I think what was the most interesting aspect to me was, there were so many things that were so interesting about the book itself, you know. Let's start with the romance, for instance. As we all know, I'm not really big on romance, but I loved how it was done here. You have Sasha, sorry. They write down in the book how to pronounce her name, and I should have written that down in my notes. I did not. She's kind of a complex character, and she is bi, at the very least, you know. There is a gender fluidity to the novel, especially when she meets the Fae princess, Nagua? That's another name. I'm not really good with the pronunciations, but that didn't really hinder my enjoyment of the book. Let me just state for that record. Nagau is how you spell their name. They come from the dark, and they are very reminiscent of dark Fae, and like D&D, Drow, Drizzt, for example. But what's really interesting is they can change their gender. They can go to sleep one night and as a male and then wake up the next morning as a female. They can choose their gender depending on what they want to identify with. So they are gender fluid, and I really love this concept of gender fluid in this novel and how it is explored. It does in a way make me feel seen. I am bi at the very least, but I don't really consider myself gender fluid a lot of times. However, I do like to wear a lot of masculine clothes. I love a nice 3-piece tailored suit. I love wearing a vest. I love wearing a tie. I do appreciate the way I look in masculine clothing. I think I quite look very attractive, honestly. So I'm very in touch with my masculinity as well as I am with my femininity. And so in that respect, that's how I felt seen. So I really do think a lot of readers out there are going to feel seen, because you don't actually have to be gender fluid in order to appreciate the gender fluidity in the novel. I just think Kika did a really good job of exploring that aspect in this book, because who says Fae have to abide by the same constructs as humans in human society? It's very different, and it's very interesting to see it explored, not just through their romance, but also through other characters and their romances as well. Some of the side characters that are part of that Fae. I'm calling them Fae because that's how she describes them as. They look like, dark Fae, Drow. But their society is very interesting too. The Ikalin is a moth. It's this, think of like a lunar moth almost, but glowing with like this kind of purplish light. It's very cool. It's very, very interesting. I think the world building as well is just really, really interesting. It is modern. It's contemporary. It takes place in our, Manhattan, downtown, Times Square. That's where it takes place. But there are pockets of darkness that just kind of popped up one day. And these pockets of darkness are the pockets of darkness are like doorways, portals to the dark realm, right? Where all these things like a dark griffin or a dark basilisk or a dark dragon, that's what they call them, can come up, dark lions. mythical beings that come from the dark, you know? It's really, really interesting. And Sasha is fascinated with the dark. There's also a very non-linear aspect to the book. And I think Kika did it in such a brilliant, fascinating way, just exploring this non-linear aspect. So for Sasha, her story arc is linear, but the moments in which she meets Nagua are not linear, and that's what's really interesting and very, very cool. She meets them first, they're trying to kill her, and then when she meets them again, they have no idea who she is, and then when she meets them again, it's after they've tried to kill her once, but they need her help. And it's so interesting because when it's called Yemen, it's this time break between the realms. When light bombs, for instance, hit, it'll be a month for Sasha, but for them, the power of those blasts go into their realm like light years into the future. It's very, very interesting. It's like, I'm struggling to explain it because it was so fascinating to read. I don't think you can really explain it. There's like a time dilation aspect to it. So there's a little science in there. There's a little science, there's fantasy, it's urban fantasy, it's contemporary, it's modern, but it has a touch of high fantasy with the dark world. And how you also have allusions to Greek mythology with the labyrinth and Ariadne, and how Ariadne was kind of in love with the labyrinth, and you know, Sasha, she's in love with the labyrinth as well. For her as well, her story arc, once again, it is linear, but there are lots of flashbacks of memory. Those flashbacks of memory are important for what follows. Like, they serve an emotional aspect to building her as a character, because it's her reflecting on something in the past, and it's so human. You know, it's such a human thing. It's something we don't even really think about. You know, we just reflect on the past. Oh, a scent. Oh, that reminds me of this event 3 years ago. You know, it's really, really fascinating. And I absolutely loved that storytelling. I loved how it was non-linear, but linear at the same time. I loved the tension. I loved the pacing. It was so easy to follow as well. Even though it's like non-linear, but also linear, and has a lot of flashbacks and a little bit of science in there, it's effortless. It's truly effortless how it's written. The characters are relatable because Sasha, she's just dealing with a lot of self-doubt. She doesn't think she's good enough, and it's like, no, you are good enough. Don't let your self-doubt diminish you and everything that you're capable of doing. And again, I think that's such a human thing. You know, it's so absolutely human for us to doubt ourselves, to think we're not good enough to do something, to think that, oh, we're constantly letting people down. I mean, I go through that every single day. I go to bed and I'm thinking, was I a good mom today? Was I a good wife today? Did I do everything I could do at work today that I could possibly do? You know, I just go through like these cycles of like self-doubt, and then I'm like, you know what? No, I am a good mom. And then I have to remind myself, like, I am a good mom, I am a good wife. And it's like, you know what? I did the best that I could at work today, and I know for a fact I can look myself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I gave my all today. I gave 110%. So there's a lot of relatability in the novel. It's very relatable, it's thoughtful, it's emotional, and the character dynamics are so well done. And I really just love the fantasy. I would love to see more, especially after that ending. I would love to see more of this world, especially the dark world. You know, I'd love to see more of the relationship. I want to know what's going to happen next. You know, we forged peace, but what happens next? What's going to happen next? You know, am I just going to have to sit here and be like, oh, man, what a bittersweet ending? but it's also kind of up in the air because you really don't know what's going to happen next. I honestly really loved it and I enjoyed it. Solid 4.5 stars. Highly recommend it. In any case, thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.